with that, it's 7 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order of the open space. Today is February the 6th, 2019. Is there anybody recording the meeting? I know Lake Cam is. There is nobody else. All right. Selection of permanent clerk. I just did not erase that out of last week's agenda, or last month's agenda, so we can skip. Wow, this is going to go fast tonight. We're going to do approval of December 5th, 2018 and January 2nd, 2019 meeting minutes. Everybody has received a copy of them.
Somehow I didn't.
Yeah, if you need, which ones do you not have? Because I've got 2 copies here.
Yeah,
There you go.
okay.
Got both of them.
Here you
Which
go.
one do you have there?
There you go. I got a complete set now. You sent these out and how did I miss them?
They were sent out a while ago.
Well, maybe I
Yeah,
have
it's
them.
probably 2 or 3 weeks ago we did them.
Yeah.
So I will have read them and I guess.
Well, if you want to take a second or two to look at them, and then you can. And I suppose we'll start with the December one, so when people are ready, I'll take a motion.
A motion to accept the December 5th.
I have a first, is there a second?
Second.
I have a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the December 5th, 2018 meetings, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? They pass. We will move on to January 2nd.
I move we accept the minutes of January 2.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the January 2nd, 2019 minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Pass unanimous. All right. We had a couple of discussion items that members asked to have put on the agenda. The first one was the Island Terrace development plans. I know it's been listed in the papers, which is really all I have for info as far as the submission of potential condo units or housing units at the old Island Terrace facility off of Betty's Neck, which obviously would be something that we would want to keep an eye on. But Mike, I don't know if you have more.
I went to the ZBA meeting. I'd also talked with a number of people. I just would like to insert before that I'd also gone to the Assawamsett Pond Complex Management meeting. And that was practically the only thing they talked about there. But they were looking at the first set of plans, and what came before the ZBA was somewhat pulled back.
Okay.
So in essence, what they were saying and what the ZBA was kind of accepting is that the new plan would have less of an impact than Island Terrace. And according to our zoning regulations, we have something that's called a permissive bylaw, which means that if it does have a less of an impact, that the Zoning Board of Appeals can approve. They did approve. There were several letters, including one of mine, personal, that suggested it be that perhaps the whole property should be open space, but that's not a Zoning Board of Appeals issue. The DEP a lawyer that was speaking for Deacus were claiming that it ought to be judged as, because it's a change of use, it needs to go back to the basic standards, because it was non-conforming, it had, it already was more than it needed to be.
Mhm.
I mean, more than it should have been in terms of impact. I don't know how other boards are going to see that. I just don't know, and I don't know how the DEP will rule on it, because they were very much opposed, but they were looking at the previous plan. What they will say now, I don't know.
Right.
But the current plan is for 2 buildings, which will be 45 feet tall, or can be up to 45 feet tall. And there will be 74 units. They will use the existing system. There have to be some changes made in the existing septic system, the new system that was put in. The parking lot is going to be reduced slightly. And that's about it. According to council, it only has to be compared with the pre-existing use. It does not have to be. It doesn't have to go to the basic standards that were put in after Island Terrace went in.
Right. Did you hear anything as far as the next meeting or?
No, I did not, because this was just the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay.
And I don't know how you find out what meetings are going on. I guess you have to go to the town calendar and then try to figure out, then trace down their agendas. I don't know what
That would be
else you
pretty
do.
much, yeah, that's the only way I would know. Because certainly
As far
nothing
as
much.
far as a hearing before the DEP, unless we call DEP, I don't know. I did talk, and this again is as a private individual, I talked with Joan Pierce, who is the land agent for Fisheries and Wildlife, and she's watching it. The state would be interested, but they don't, if, as John Powderly stood up and said, the cost of the town taking this property or a consortium of towns and various organizations, it would be $8 million. I don't know where that figure comes from, but that's a pretty good bundle. So I don't know. This is not something I can pursue on my own. If the Open Space Committee is interested in kind of like seeing if we can keep track of it and see if we can be, the town is not going to do it. We can't go to the selectmen and say buy it. You can't do that. When Betty's Neck came up for sale, the town didn't just buy it. It wasn't presented to the Board of Selectmen as a yes or no. However, the Board of Selectmen supported it. In the case of Island Terrace, you would at least have one selectman against you. I don't know about the other 2. But you would have to get all the other, I know that New Bedford and Taunton would much prefer to have nothing there. The previous owner, gosh, what, Toll? Do you
Tolles,
know?
yes.
Do you know her first name? Anyway, Ms. or Mrs., I don't know that either. But anyway, the previous owner stood up and when she stood up and said a lot of things, but one of the things she said that she had tried to get the Audubon Society interested because the bird life there is amazing.
Right.
And that they were simply not interested. Joan Pierce's comment sitting next to you said, but she doesn't even remember who she talked to, so I don't think she tried very hard. Joan, by the way, was very much instrumental in the purchase of the Highland Road property. That's what she does. She was the one that told us that the state was not interested in the, how did we define that bog that we looked at such a long time ago? The one that we liked so much. Do you remember the name of it off of?
I can't
Hill-
remember. I know which one you're
Hilltop?
talking
No,
about.
the one off of Precinct. The one that we had to walk away in.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, I can't come up with
can't
his
remember the
name.
name,
yeah.
but
But she was the one did you speak to? I can't remember who spoke with her,
I
but
think Linda may have.
she said that it was not the type of property that they would buy, being landlocked like that.
Right.
However, I know that she thinks the state would be interested, but just to what extent, I don't know. And because the Zoning Board of Appeals granted the variances, that's one hurdle. The more hurdles that they cross, the firmer the price is.
Right.
So, as I was saying, this is not something I can pursue on my own.
Right.
I wish I had the energy and the knowledge and the skill, but I don't. But,
I guess I get confused. Is there some place at Town Hall where they talk about some of these facts that they brought up at the ZBA meeting, like this $8 million? Because there's
oh,
no
that I
one
don't know
said where
about.
that number
I don't know.
came from. I mean, that property can't possibly be worth $8 million. Not on the face of
I
it,
have no
unless that's
idea
what
what
the woman
property-
owed the bank when they went under. If she owed the bank $8 million, then the bank wants $8 million back, and she's still liable for some portion of that, so she's gonna want to get as much money as she possibly
course,
can.
yeah.
But $8 million is like crazy.
Well, I don't even know how a loan works when somebody's gone bankrupt and they're saying that the bank now owns the property. I just don't know how it works. I don't know where that $8 million figure came from, but I did ask Ms. Toll if that was realistic. She said she thought it probably was by the time you had done everything.
Well, if you put in 75 condo units, at some point you will probably make $8 million pretty rapidly, but that's not the same thing as that's what the bank needs to get for it. So that's, there's some confusion here.
It's
on-
partly a matter of what the developer is willing to pay for it.
And is that the thing, like, I struggle because the nursing home was a private home once, correct?
Well, the front of it was a private home.
So was it originally built to be senior housing or a nursing home?
No, it was originally a wealthy person's estate.
Okay, so once upon a time, it was built just to be a family home.
Right.
And then through special permit, from what I recall from watching the proceedings of the ZBA, it became a nursing home. But that was a special permission.
Well,
So now that it's no
Probably
longer
grandfathered
business.
because it goes way, way back.
Sure, but
Yeah,
it's out of
yeah,
business,
much-
so that grandfathering
when
is
the rules
gone.
when the rules and laws weren't nearly so strict.
Do you see my point?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's usually how grandfathering works. When that company or that business or that family, whatever, when that ends, the grandfathering ends. So the property should be going back to its original use, which was a single family, being owned by a single family. And that's where I get crazy confused
I mean, how they could
about
possibly
how they
put
could
multiple-
possibly put, when it all should just go back to what it originally
a
was.
single-family home.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see my point? That's usually how grandfathering works from my experience in the rest of my life.
Well, this is the thing, that this is what, it all hinges, I think, on that last, I just listened to the thing again tonight.
Right.
I think it all hinges on this permissive bylaw concept, that our bylaw allows a reuse
Right, right.
if
right,
the
right.
reuse does not
I
exceed,
did
or
catch that.
maybe it says it has to
No, I know what you're saying.
improve the impact.
It can't be any worse than
It
what the
can't be any
nursing
worse
home
than what was there, yeah.
Right.
And-
So that's another thing that confuses me because they don't have any way of comparing it. So you have a nursing home that had all the people in the same building, and they were doing whatever they were doing. They were running a kitchen, and they were using bathrooms, and they were taking care of people.
Well-
And they had, most of those people couldn't drive. So most of those people weren't parking cars out there.
But
They might have had guests and
they
visitors.
dealt with all of that, Liz, so I could go.
See,
right
this is
through
what I
the
mean.
list.
Where
Yeah.
is all of that?
Well, they compared the number of trips by car, and this was
So
questioned.
they did do all of this.
It was
Okay,
questioned.
That's what I was,
But not
Because I
proved
haven't-
one way or the other, because they said this would come up for site, when there is a site plan review.
right.
I think it was, they said that it was 300 a day cars when it was a nursing home with visitors and staff.
Right.
And that it would be something like 250 with the condos. The site coverage currently is something like 25%, and it will be reduced to 24%. The flow, oh man, do I remember that? I've got it written down, so, but this may be approximate, unless I.
Well, no, I
can
know,
find
I totally
papers.
know what you're saying. So, and I did understand that
But
council
the,
was
but,
like,
the septic flow, effluent, whatever word
Right.
they use, it will be slightly reduced.
right, all of that
And the buildings are pulled back so that they,
from the water.
yeah,
Yeah, and they're tearing down a couple of the buildings.
yes,
Yep,
yes.
and I caught all of that. I guess I just, I struggle that they would want to develop that piece of property, when common sense says that it's a dangerous piece of property to continue having be developed. It's up against Assawamsett, it's up against all of those two towns' drinking water, it's right up against those cranberry bogs, and it's like, I would think anybody investing money would want to put it somewhere where there wasn't such a high chance of there being a disaster. If there's a
Liz, I'm so with you on this.
well, I just needed to say it.
I am so with you
It
on
doesn't
that.
make, it seems
But
a
what
lack
I-
of common sense to me
but
on many
I-
levels.
What Don Foster was trying to say is the only thing that they were doing as the ZBAs, they had to judge
Right.
the granting of the special permit
Right.
according to our existing bylaws
Right.
and the facts that they were given. Some of the facts could be questioned, but they had the figures. I don't know what to do beyond that.
Right, and I wonder where that 8 million number comes from, because there wasn't any,
Well, that was,
I didn't hear.
but
any.
again, that was just, nobody was offering to buy the property. It was just mentioned. My letter mentioned it. I did write a long letter just saying that, wouldn't it be lovely? That the
Right.
town would be special if they did this, but,
Okay, I didn't,
Powderly says $8 million. You want to do it, get the $8 million.
Okay, just to mention that the original house, after it became a nursing home, it's probably triple in size.
they kept adding on to it.
It's been added on to, I don't know exactly how many sections,
Right,
and the back sections are brick.
right,
You know, and there's 2 other houses on the site
right.
in another building.
Well, in many ways, it could be completely feasible that these condo units they're putting in are going to have a less of an impact on that property and on that area than the nursing home. I mean, it's feasible.
Yes.
It's just when you look at the opportunity and you look at the land and you look at everything it's threatening, it just seems to me to be common sense to take it out of development. And I understand that the bank owns it, and banks don't really usually think that way. Like, why would you do that? But you would think the towns Taunton, New Bedford, Decca Cranberries, the town of Lakeville, Assawamsett, I mean, you're liable, I assume, this, even the developers. Do they realize if they have a disaster there, all the people they're gonna owe legal lawsuit money to?
You want to work with me on
You
this?
know what I mean? I'm just like, you guys could pick a better piece of property to build some condos on it. Yeah, you
Well, it
know.
sounds like one of the next steps would be to talk to Joan, was it that you mentioned?
Yes,
or-
well, I sat next to her there at that
Yeah.
meeting, and she was going to get back to me. She hasn't. I need to call her again because I need to know what the next steps are.
Right.
And I don't know how much time we have. I'm going to be gone a week, a week from now. I'm headed off for like 5 days. But, this next week, maybe we could make some phone calls. It would seem to me that we need to find out what regulatory things they need to go through. We need to talk to New Bedford and Taunton. We need to talk to Fishery and Wildlife. We need to talk to whatever to find out if there is any potential of putting
Right.
together a coalition. Because obviously, the town cannot do it. It's got to be a coalition.
Right.
And then there's the discussion of whether or not you tear the whole thing down. Seems a bit of a shame. That's a very fancy septic they have there. Or do we have try to put some sort of nature center there? Or do you have a sizable nature center, maybe using like half of the facility that's there? Or do you make a tiny little nature center there, at least with flushable toilets?
Did any of
Or use
the
the common-
watershed groups or anything speak at the meeting,
No.
or no?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, but that's another group to get involved.
Right,
At the Taunton Watershed
Right.
Association, yeah. Which brings me to another quick aside. There was I'm going to try to pursue this, but there was a woman looking for volunteer work. She was going to join Lakeville Little Lifters, which you don't have to sign up for. But I responded to her and said, if you have worked for the Taunton River Watershed Association, you might be interested in joining the Open Space Committee.
Oh.
So she didn't answer back, so I think I'm going to send her another email.
There
But she
you go.
says she writes articles for that. But anyway, so those are all, but, So those are phone calls that could be made.
Would you like to work with Mike to
Sure.
just even start with the phone calls?
Yeah, and I
or whatnot,
apologize,
or-
this is just my opinion,
No, that's
I
fine.
and it's very
I'm with Mike, I
Your-
don't know what the
Betty's
next,
neck.
Your passion is very pleasing.
yeah. I don't know what the next steps
Right.
are, so that's why I think the phone call may be the first step. Obviously, whatever goes on there, even on a broader level, just affects the open space that is there and protected and whatnot, so.
Oh, one other
it's-
person that did stand up, I didn't mention him, and that was Mike Renzi, who was on the Open Space Committee quite long ago,
I
a
remember.
while back. He was mostly interested in the night sky. Well, you can imagine what his opinion is.
Hmm.
He'd like to see nothing there. And so I tossed him a little bone in my letter, and I said possibly a little observatory could be built right there.
There you
His
go.
observatory is like about twice the size, maybe no bigger than this table, you know. But
Well, I would say if Liz, if you would work with Mike and at least get the phone calls, and then if
Yeah,
we need
see
to
it.
meet sooner than what we normally would meet, that's fine. And, certainly you can
Well,
relay with me as far as whatever, and I'll help where I can.
I didn't see the plans. All right. The public uses a dirt road to the left side of Island Terrace to get to the lands and back, which are public lands.
yes, but that road is owned by Deacus, and that's irrelevant to the development. They wouldn't, that just wouldn't be a
Okay,
part
so
of
that road is still gonna be intact.
attacked.
Well, intact.
Intact.
All right.
That road needs to be attacked. I don't know if you've driven on it.
Well, it does have some rust in it, yeah.
Your whole car could disappear in some of the holes. At least the last time I was there, but that was not part of the consideration. I mean, the road itself is owned, the access road to Island Terrace is owned by Deacus. And I have no idea what the planning board has to say about that type of frontage.
Well, I thought I heard something about
Pre-existing, But all of that is between Deacus and Island Terrace, the maintenance of that road, and that little side road is not part of Island Terrace, it's not part of the access.
No, I would think that would have to stay no matter what anyway. It's just for access to the bogs and
Yeah.
to Betty's Neck itself and whatever else. But
Well, so do we think it's important I mean, I just had to share my opinion.
no, I think it's worthwhile to at least get information on it.
Right. Because
Where we go from,
it'll impact Betty's Neck.
excuse me, absolutely. So I think if we, like I said, at least see what the first steps would be, then we can take it from there. But I mean, Mike has more info than I have. I vaguely remember seeing the ZBA announcement, and I know I have another
Well, I
meeting
think
that
Liz,
night.
No, right.
you watched the meeting.
But if we get the next steps, and like I said, I'm sure it's sometime sensitive, so if it's something that we need to meet before March 2nd, we could certainly do that. But let's at least see what the next step possibly might be. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with gathering the information, and
Right.
it may not go anywhere, but
Right.
at least we've looked into it. It is obviously a major
I think we have
development
we
within
have to
a
brace
a-
ourselves to the fact that this is a steep hill to climb,
Yeah.
but not to even try.
Right.
It's,
Well, it's something that interests me when I first heard. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not,
me
it
too.
may not even be something that we change anything, but I think the impact on the open space in the area, there was a lot of effort that went into protect that area as far as Betty's Neck and
Yes, yes,
whatnot. So,
indeed.
and that's something we should keep an eye on.
Yeah,
And
I
and even
mean-
the watershed
yeah.
Right.
land area there.
Somebody pointed out that it could be kind of like the first intrusion on Assawamsett Pond, because while you can't swim or boat in the water, there are some private inholdings that go all the way down to the shore, and if they see this one pass, they may just think, oh boy, I'll put a great big,
Well, I even think too,
Quasi-hotel
you
there.
have a nursing home, unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of the patients aren't able to get out on their own, whereas just private residences, that's
It was
more use of
It was
Betty's
fascinating.
Neck and everything
Well, I think,
too.
well, I
so.
Betty's
Certainly
Neck
is.
could handle a little bit more use.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, but I mean, at a bare minimum, there is more use for the resources that are there, so.
All right, do we know how many patients were in there?
I don't, because I thought I heard the number 70, but it must have been more than that.
I would think
Why-
we
why-
had more.
I don't know why I thought so, but, because maybe it was just 70, because I did hear that number, but I didn't write it down right away, and so I'm not sure that was the.
Right.
So it's, there'll be 168 people living there, and other people as well. One of the arguments was made that over 50, only is one person there, and there may be, supposedly they're going to put in a rule, no children, but there may be a law against that they can't put that through. What they're saying they're going to do is make it so that people under a certain age can only be there like 9 months, no more than 9 months at a time. But somebody said, who's going to patrol that? But if they were enrolled in the schools, it'd be pretty obvious. But yeah, we can.
It's,
right after the meeting.
human nature is such that if they built these condos, and I don't think a condo development is the worst thing in the world, and I understand they want to make best use of that septic system that's already in place. I get that, but, and I did hear something about it being 55 and over, but only one person
Yeah.
in each apartment has to be 55.
Well,
For that
it's,
to
yeah, but the only reason why that really makes a big difference is are these condos going to have just 2 people, or are they really going to have 3 or 4?
Right.
And that's what we're not sure of.
But then human nature is such that they'll be going in the water.
Well,
They're
it
gonna
would be
end up in the water.
It would be strictly illegal to do so.
And you're gonna
I
end
worry
up
more
with-
about their dogs,
Their dogs will be.
which
in
will
the-
do
and-
more than
and-
just put their bodies in the
Yes.
water.
Alrighty.
Sorry, thank you for listening.
No, that's fine. So the two of you will at least work with, as far as, see what the next contact would be, and then just let us know. And like I said, if we need to meet before the March.
Is there any other upcoming meetings where this is going to be discussed?
This is what I don't know,
Yeah.
and this is what we have
I
to
would
find out.
recommend each of us just take a look at the calendar
It's
at
going
the
to have
town
to
hall.
go through planning board. That may be more than, it probably has to go through the Conservation Commission, and it'll have to go through Board of Health.
Yeah.
But after what was said at ZBA, I'm not anticipating any that it'll just breeze through. And it also there's some kind of a review with DEP, and I don't know how that works.
I would say just take a look at the schedule with the town clerk's office.
Yeah, yeah.
All the agendas are posted and whatnot. So, Jesse, did you have anything you want to
No, I don't have
add with
anything.
this, or, okay. Anything else with this particular bit?
No,
All right.
we'll have an extensive report.
Yeah. Did you have anything with
It
the?
may come with tears, or it may come with.
Did you have anything with the APC meeting
I think
besides what?
but that was the most part of the meeting.
Okay.
Give me just half a second, I was so busy with the other, I don't think. No, there was one other thing, and I don't know if anybody in this group could help or not, but they need a member from Middleborough. And I was asked specifically if I knew anybody from Middleborough. So if any of you have any friends in Middleborough that might be interested in serving on the committee, because Joe Freitas died, and he was the Middleborough representative.
Anything just a side note, I mean, anything spoken at the meeting on the, I thought I read somewhere with the dredging or the weeds or something in the rivers? Or
Hold on, you're right,
Okay.
you're right. Hold on, let me see what was.
The milfoil? Milfoil?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember anything specific.
I don't know if they were set to do it or if they were still discussing it.
Well, the sad thing was that they had a loon project, but they ran out of funds, so I don't know if they're going to continue to do it or not.
Oh, the one that's been at Assawamsett for the past few years?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they won't keep monitoring, but they won't be releasing anymore,
Anymore.
at least as far as we know.
Yeah, they weren't there this past fall, I know
I knew I'd seen
Oh,
one.
okay, all right. The Fish and Wildlife, they said that, yes, there was something about the weeds. They want to do a harvesting program. They have to present that to the Conservation Commission in both towns.
Oh, okay.
And that hasn't happened yet. But they're hoping to do it in July and August. Yes, thanks for mentioning that.
Okay.
And funds were appropriated,
Okay.
both by Lakeville and Middleborough. We did that at town meeting.
Cool.
You're
Not
saying
much, about $5,000.
the funds were appropriated for what?
Harvesting is a bad word because it's essentially they're pulling it out and
Pulling.
dumping it someplace on land where it won't reproduce. The milfoil, one of the big concerns when you do that is you break off little pieces and they float downstream and grow again. It's that type of weed.
Yeah, it's a tough one. All right, let's see, as far as open space, master plan, there is going to be another citizens workshop on Saturday, March 2nd, here at the library from 10 to 12, and one of the topics covered will be open space. This is for Lakeville 2030. So I encourage everyone to, if you have the time, to come that Saturday. The snow date, I believe, is March 15th, but they're
Okay, say the date again.
March 2nd
March
is
2nd.
the actual date. It's first Saturday in
Yes,
March.
okay.
And it will be 10 to 12 here at the library. This is part of the Lakeville 2030, getting feedback from the community with regards to, everything as far as with the master plan, but this one will cover open space, land use, etc., the topics that we as a committee certainly would be most interested in. The other thing with the master plan is they're going to be reintroducing, we already did it, the committees that were assigned to redo their section of the master plan. But I'm going to pull ours out. We, as a committee, did send ours in. We were one of the few committees, but it has been just about a year. So we're
So
going
we
to...
just need to look it over and
I'm
see
going to
what's
look it over
changed.
and see, and I'm going to locate it, and I'll try to get a copy to everybody. And we'll just kind of peruse it. Linda, Mike, and Joan Morton did a great job on it, writing it up last year. There weren't many committees that got theirs in, but the master plan is going to be...
What's the matter with people?
I don't know. They'll be pushing them now, that's for sure.
That's what we're reviewing?
It's our portion of the master plan, the town master plan. Every committee was asked to just sort of update their section. And we did ours last year, it did get in, but because it's been a year, we'll take a quick look. Like I said, I'll get it out, and maybe at the next meeting, we can just, if there's any updates to it.
Well, our next scheduled meeting would be in March, and it would be after that meeting.
Yeah, this has
So, yeah.
nothing with the,
But I was thinking
that
that
workshop.
It would be nice if, I don't know what the workshop's going to be about, but it would be kind of nice if the people who ran the workshop had read what we sent in.
well, Serpent has everything, and they've got the
Yeah.
updated stats actually for a lot of things too. They've been doing a really good job with running the workshop.
Serpent has everybody else been reading it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have on the committee. Hopefully the town residents are getting it out. It is hard getting the word out and get sports and everything else on a Saturday, so spread the word, tell your neighbors, tell your family, come, vote often.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is
Early and
the,
often.
there is some kind of an what's the word?
Implementation.
Yes, that's the word. There's that committee. Is that the same committee that is working on the master plan?
The master plan implementation committee, yes,
Yeah.
that's the same
It's
committee.
all one committee.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, don't you think? That it's all.
Well, I mean, I was hoping that's the way it was, but I
Yeah,
haven't really
no, it's the same
seen it
committee,
in print.
so
And what is the deadline for things to be submitted?
they haven't set that yet. It'll be about June, I think, but we'll have ours in. We've done ours, so there's not a lot I foresee changing in it. I just figure if thoughts have changed or something.
Well, I had thought that we just barely made the deadline.
Yeah, we did, and I think basically the committee got a little sidetracked because we got Serpent involved to help us, and so now Serpid's doing their part, which is kind of nice.
Can you tell me what SERPIT stands for?
Southeast
Southeast.
Regional Planning Development
Planet
Group.
Serpent.
They kind of
Yeah, development
help.
is the D.
Yeah.
Okay.
They basically help a lot of there's in southeastern Mass here,
Okay,
not the
okay,
Cape,
Yep, okay.
with development and plans
Okay.
and,
Just, one of the things that they did several years ago, maybe about 20 years ago, was they did a, what did they call it? They did maps of all the towns in the region they cover and showed what the towns would look like if everything was built out according to their existing zoning laws. So
Yeah.
it was kind of an interesting thing.
yeah,
to
they're
do.
a really good group, and they've been working with us and hard and consulting with us to get things going. So I think that's where the individual committee, but we are getting to the point where it's now time to beginning to start putting things together after these, I think there may be one more workshop after this one, I'm not sure, on March 2nd, but getting the feedback. So, if you go to basically Lakeville 2030, there's a Facebook page, there's a website, there's comment cards if you want to do it the old-fashioned way that can be dropped off and mailed, or, even given to me if you need to. But certainly spread the word and get the info out. It does basically give a blueprint for how the town would like to be
Right.
10 years from now. So it would be, it's good to get as much feedback as we can. So, but March 2nd, if we can get that going. Let's see. Land list update, I admit I haven't done anything with that this month. We were going to start looking at some of the priority lands that we, certainly Betty's Neck would be one of them, so we're going there. I will try to have that, the document that we developed a while back for next meeting. I admit this month for me has been a bit crazy. Announcements and correspondence, I don't have anything that's been given to me. I don't know if anyone else has anything beyond just the master plan workshop. I don't know if anyone
No.
else, so, all right. Do we have any agenda items for the next meeting?
Whatever we've come up with.
Yes, we will definitely have number one again.
Oh, I fell down on going to the Concom to set up, because we were going to set up a meeting with them, and there was, and ask about Vigors. I haven't done that yet.
Oh, I was
think-
going to
I think-
ask about Vigors, and I haven't done that yet either.
I
so.
think they meet not this coming week, but the week after. I think it's the second Tuesday of the month. So I'm hoping to be able to get on that.
Okay.
If I don't get going, I won't.
Yeah, and I'll certainly
So
send a
maybe the
letter in or
first Tuesday,
something
in
with
which case
Vigors.
I really better get going.
I would
No,
imagine
it'll be the
there's
second
not much
Tuesday.
going on
No, next
with it.
Tuesday is the second Tuesday,
Yes.
yikes. Yes, so.
All right, so we can certainly
that's
take a
phone
look
calls to
there.
make tomorrow.
The next meeting would be March 6th, if that still works for everybody. I always like February, March, because dates are the same unless it's leap year.
March 6th,
Yeah, it seems to be fine.
All right.
March 6th.
Is there any other business we need to go over? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Before we take the vote or whatever, I will say Deanna Elliott is interested still in being, she couldn't make tonight, she plans on being here next month. And I'm just going to tell her to get her desire to be on the committee into the selectmen so they can appoint her, so.
Yes, I'm delighted.
Yeah.
You haven't met her?
No, I have not. I'm sure I have going to the farm stand and just not known it, but.
Probably not, she's not usually at the
Oh, no,
first.
okay, so. All right, all in favor of adjourning? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting